Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Start, go right down the agenda. Do I hear a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
Motion to adopt tonight's agenda, August 26th.
And Mark, you'll second it? Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Approval of minutes 8/12/2024. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll second.
Any comments or questions by the board?
So, look good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Move on to the road report.
We're still doing our MRGP work. And we're also incorporating some grading back in now too. The roads are starting to get to the point where they need it. We did have the grader breakdown in the middle of grading Endless Brook Road today, and that set us back for the whole day basically. But we were able to get it fixed, and we've got the new parts on the way that we need to replace the parts we robbed from other stuff to fix it. Other than that, that's really about it for where we're at currently.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions for Joel?
Think the guys probably do.
Will do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
On the community development ORR grant.
Yes, so I'm happy to share that Poultney did get the ORR grant that we applied for.
Good job, Sarah.
Yes, thanks. It's exciting. This is a $10,000 grant with up to $1,000 in technical assistance from the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable. There will be a press release coming out soon, formal press release from that organization. But the project is to create redevelopment scenarios for the community's use in visualizing a new recreation hub, potential new recreation hub at the current site of the town garage. So the Town to Trails Steering Committee that is already formed will be leading that project once we get the go-ahead from ORR. And then I also wanted to let the select board know that I received correspondence this morning from Buildings and General Services about the MERP awards that are going to be opening soon. The state BGS has, because there was so much interest in this program for the implementation funds, they've prioritized the municipalities that are in Vermont that were rated either high priority or very high priority for their energy burden. And Poultney falls into that category. So if a community isn't in that category, then they won't be able to apply for the implementation grants. So we sort of got a little boost for this grant round. And at the next meeting, I'm going to put together some materials for the board to figure out how to proceed, because it'll be a very quick turnaround. They need to have all of the applications in by the end of September.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Sarah? All right, thank you, Sarah. Our managers report.
So the clerk has given me a couple catering permits and tobacco license applications for your review for the Rolling Rooster. Two of them are, I believe are, one's a catering permit at Whale Park Vineyard that Rolling Rooster is doing, and one is an event they're doing at their location at Coles Point, the Clucking Cafe. And the tobaccos are for their establishment at the Clucking Cafe.
The tobacco license is for the
For their business, yeah.
It's me today.
I don't know if anyone wants to entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve, liquor license and tobacco license for the rustic rolling range.
I would do that.
Our second.
The second, any comments or concerns by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
So you're gonna want to sign that?
Yep.
Jeff? I do have a note on here that, there's a roadside mower issue that I want to talk to the board about in executive session. I also have to advise the board that I will not be here on September 9th, which is our first meeting, would be our regular first meeting in September. I'm going to be out of town. And I know that we have a merger committee meeting the following Monday on the September 16th. I don't know how the board, if the board wants to have a special meeting or just not have a meeting.
We'll skip and go to the 23rd. How's everybody feel about that?
Do we have to meet prior to the merger meeting or no?
No, we don't have to. That's not a law.
I'm here
On when?
on the 9th.
On the 9th?
I'll be out of town as well.
How's the board feel, Alan? Miss it, go to the 23rd?
We already have on the 23rd, so
Yeah,
just
meeting.
can't
Just
dismiss
skip
the
it.
meeting.
We'll go to the 23rd,
This is the whole meeting.
the whole meeting. You okay with that? Al? We'll avoid the 9th. We'll have the merger meeting on the 16th, and our regular board meeting will resume on the 23rd of September. Outside mowers going in executive session.
Yeah, under contract matters.
Okay. Okay, is that it, Paul?
That's all I have for right now.
Anybody have any questions for Paul?
Thanks, Paul.
On to Transact in the Lawful Selectboard business at this time. I don't know if we do. Aaron?
Yes, sir. Manager asked me to come in tonight to talk more on the discussion on the new truck funding and whether what we can do to beat this next emission cycle that's destined for us 2027. And the manufacturers are already running out of engines, so to beat this. So what we wanted to try and do is step up that game of buying that new truck a couple of years early. But the funding cycle has been, I think, the big question everyone's had. In going over and over it, the plan we had set up is not matching the growth rate on the trucks currently. Since we bought the last big truck in 2017, the market has seen an increase in the price of these trucks at 11 to 12% every year since then. So that truck, we bought it just over $500,000, just pushing $1 million mark now. And that's just the truck itself. So with all the planning we've tried to do with this truck fund to make it so we don't have to do this bonding, unfortunately, we're left that even if we don't try and beat this emission cycle, if we waited the next 2 to 3 years, we're still short. We're still bonding.
Are we still paying off another bond we have?
Yes.
All right.
We currently
We
have the
currently have
bond,
another
yeah, it's
bond.
the 15-year bond on the agent, the last big one. That was also, as on top of that, Jones had gotten a $50,000 grant. If you run the rough numbers on that, that's almost a 0% loan that we're paying on that with that grant that he got through that. So
Do you know how many more years we have on that bond left?
we pulled that.
May 2020, excuse me, May of 2033, there's a balance of $153,237.50.
Currently, I think like $18,000 a year, so we're paying on that one, I think.
Correct.
A year would definitely pay it off before we own it, before we upgrade that.
So that one, when year is it? Sorry, Paul, but it's over.
2033.
2033.
5 years after that, it would go the next. So with the timing on this one being a couple years sooner, we pushed that one out a little bit farther. That's to keep it within that cycle of that truck being worth money at the keeping us within our 10-year cycle on on the truck that is the truck that goes to your house when you call 911 for a fire. That one by NFPA is supposed to be in the 10-year mark. So what we're doing is buying one truck every 10 years, but it sits in the firehouse for 20 years. So at the 20-year mark, that would be the one that gets rotated out for the next new one. So the one that we're looking to buy now would take its job, and that one becomes the second. We have two apparatus in town that serve that function, but the one is within that 10-year. But within that 20-year window, the value of that apparatus is significant compared to us running it down the road till it's not worth much, which we're seeing currently with the last truck we just replaced. It's worth almost nothing to most people. So now this pushing 30, it's 30 years old was that one. So what I'd like to do is trying to figure out a way, whether we can figure out through USDA on a low interest loan and what grant opportunities are out there, pull a bond to be able to buy this truck before that next emission cycle. So we're not only hitting the emission cycle, but I understand it's talking about pulling a bond. We have to pull a bond unless we wait another upwards of 8 years before we could possibly buy that truck. We've already would have missed another truck replacement on top of that, a little brush truck.
Sarah, is there anything that help out with that type of stuff?
It's not something that I am really well versed in. I could look around. USDA sounds like a good one.
I think
But
rural development was where
yeah,
that dropped out of the last one.
yeah, I can look and see if I can find
Is there any federal funding? Because Aaron, at this time, a bond probably is not feasible. We are going in a direction with our town garage, which is going to be very expensive to build.
I 100% understand that.
And that,
What I don't want to be stuck in is a petition
and
where we're jumping
I,
from fire to fire when now I have to replace truck that's extra old and we're just jumping on that fire. That's why I'm here to try and present as much as I can to say, this is what I need for my department to stay snuff. So we're not in an area where we're having to buy this or operation shutter type scenario. So
is there any way, like I say, a bond is probably not going to be feasible at this time.
Can we put it down for the next meeting and have Sarah do a little research?
We're trying to get our town garage, which is going to be an extensive amount of money. And bonds, I have a hard time personally with them, which we may have to do for the garage because as a taxpayer, I don't like paying taxes on interest.
I totally agree. That's what I'm here
But
trying to
right
say
now, at this present time, we really need a new town garage.
is 100% understand that. 100%.
So is there any way that you can find any federal funding, municipal funding
Yep.
to the federal and the state government to go towards your truck without taking a loan?
I don't believe that's feasible, but I would reach out and take as much money up as we can. But I don't think, like I said, right now, the growth rate of the truck pricing is outpacing what we currently put away. So we're going to be having this conversation for the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we'll be not much closer. But what I wanted was the blessing to say, yes, let's pursue this, because unfortunately, none of us are paid here to do all the digging and diving for this stuff. So
Pursue
funding
funding a
options.
bond?
First, see what we can get for grants first.
I just said that, a bond is not feasible at this time.
So I reached out to Senator Sanders' office and they gave me some ideas to look into to explore different funding opportunities, some of which we are discussing tonight, i.e. USDA loans and things of that nature. So, they've given us some ideas. So we'll explore what we can on those ideas that they've passed along to me.
We need to do that first before we take any action towards that, because I'm telling you, Aaron, I know what you're saying, and we all know what you're saying. But we really, really are going in a direction that we are gonna need serious money for a town garage.
Yes, sir.
And with the way taxes are now,
Yeah.
it's gonna be really tough to get a bond for a large amount of money for our town garage, possibly.
Yep.
And then $1 million bond for a new fire truck. What do we do as a town? That's what we gotta weigh.
Okay.
But please try and look and see if there's
Yep.
any other avenue.
Yep.
But that's what we have to look at. I mean, do we stay with an umbrella in that building when it rains? There's some problems down there, as we all know, some very serious problems.
Well, and I would not ask you for this to pull away from them by any means. What I'm trying to do is make sure that everybody understands that what we're trying to do here is to make sure that we don't
Yeah.
end up in this, not
We
due to no fault of any
understand
others, but I do not want to be in that same scenario at all, whether it be the firehouse, my apparatus, or otherwise. So that's why I'm coming here and just trying to give you as much info as I can to make sure we.
Well, I appreciate you being proactive and giving us a heads up, but I think now we can look at things a little bit now that we know that that's on the pike and see what we can dig up in the next couple meetings and have a discussion.
Are other
again.
towns, replacing their equipment at the same cycle that you guys have been and propose to continue to do?
They try, but unfortunately, they're not funded like you guys are so gracious to do, so.
And can you, just for some clarification purposes, because I suspect some people don't know when you refer to emission cycles, what is that? Why is that important?
So for emissions purposes, what it is they're trying to tighten up the bad stuff that comes out of the tailpipes of all vehicles, everyone knows, all vehicles. The next round of cycles for them to get tighter on the big trucks, which that truck falls into the category, is 2027. What they're looking to do is make sure that it's not emitting, I forget exactly what they're looking to get rid of, but what they want to do is they're going to have more injection points in the exhaust, more filters in the exhaust, that they're claiming to be $30,000 to $40,000 more of cost on top of the truck. For me, it's not just the price of the initial. We all know what happens with higher emissions on the vehicles. I'm sure Joel can testify to it. They require more maintenance. They cost a lot more money when they break. So what we're trying to do is be proactive enough to say we want to beat that cycle because, if we can, we can.
All we're saying, I think as a board, maybe, I don't know, you got something you want to say?
So going along that same line of thinking, when it makes sense, if you could, to keep the older stuff that you have in excellent working condition.
Unfortunately,
Not have any of the emissions.
it would be great, except for that 10-year thing falls on whether we refurbish them or not. They need to be within 10 years of manufacturer.
Yeah, but
So taking an old piece and just refurbing it every 10 years doesn't give us a new approval from NFPA.
yeah, but haven't you said, or others have said, that standard is like impossible for any department to meet? And certainly there are numerous other stations in the state that aren't even close to that standard.
Well, the new standard, right? The new standard.
It's not the easiest thing to do, but what we're trying to do is make it the best we can with that and trying to beat this emission standard, so.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do the best that we can, but some stuff you just can't do.
Understand. I just want to keep you guys well abreast of
I
what's going on.
appreciate that.
What about electric vehicles? Are there any, departments using electric vehicles? Because it seems to me that if the federal government and or the state governments keep making more and more, trying to control the emissions, it seems to me that the direction they're going is electric vehicles. Are other departments using electric vehicles?
Not currently in the state of Vermont.
There's two, Paul, in California, both are unsuccessful. One's already flamed out, when water came down out of the pump house. I don't think it's back in service yet. And the other one doesn't seem to make it out the door much. So it's very, very new technology, in a very demanding environment.
Aaron, how many cycles has it been in the budget that you have in your account right now?
There,
From not, we give 110,000 a year to,
so right now the fund is at $264,000 in it.
that's including this one that we're into now.
Last July one. So
Yeah.
23. So
Okay.
this fiscal year has not come into it yet. This fiscal year would take it to the 370 something range, minus the cruiser sinking fund, because that's also in there as well. I believe that fund is owed the cruiser line almost $30,000, I believe.
What year is the newest one we have right now? 10 years old.
The newest bid truck, 2017,
That's still 27.
or 7 years on it now. That's why we're here, because the build time on it and all this leading up, replacement of that truck comes in 27, where that emission cycle sits. We don't want to be sitting here saying, we're gonna get it in 27, and we're gonna have to pay an extra $30,000 and get that new emission stuff that, of course, is untested.
Yeah, I think the board understands that you're trying to beat the cycle, but again, at this time, where what we're trying to do with the part of the town, in the bond probably just isn't the right time. But let's keep looking.
Yep.
Let's not drop it. Let's just keep,
I would love to sit and talk with Sarah and whoever else would be interested in helping us find this fund.
let's try and find something if we can. Cause that's $700,000 you gotta find.
Pretty close to it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Rutland Regional Planning Commission?
So the regular commissioners meeting and the committee start again in September. They've been on recess still, so I don't really have any updates from RPC.
Okay. Public comments and concerns, Eric? You're here for,
Yeah, so I'm, my name's Eric Heyer. I'm on Corey Valley School Board. But I am not here in any capacity speaking to the board in any way. But, you both have come to a board meeting in regards to, the tennis courts and the basketball court that are located down at the elementary school needing repair. And I'm not 100% sure that we're going to pass funding repairs. So I wanted to ask the board if they would consider maybe purchasing that, the 2 tennis courts and the basketball court. Maybe, I don't know, maybe through a quick claim deed, $1. And maybe you guys could discuss that, and then the property would go back to the town for care and maintenance.
So I'm not the board, so I'm just curious, if you say you're not here speaking for the board, is that something that the Corey Valley School Board has discussed?
No, we have not discussed that. The board has not discussed that at
And
all.
would the school want to purchase the bathroom facilities that the town costs to be placed there? Would they want to do that?
Probably not.
The facility that's been down, and I can speak because I was the one that helped build it. 37 years ago, I started in the rec, and we had all volunteers that put that in there. We took care of the facilities, and when the school took it over, I have to jump through so many hoops to get all the facilities for the summer, the paperwork and all that stuff to get it done and go through everybody, because it's not really our gig anymore.
Right.
So it's hard, like, I'm the one that cleaned up the tennis courts, cleaned them all off, took care of them so I could hold camp there. So, and they're using, it's not just tennis courts, but we're using it they want it for pickleball, so it's not about that. But it is a school use it, and it's a community that wants it.
I
So
think the board feels that nobody is using that, courts for the basketball court.
do they come and watch? Or they sit there? No. I own camp there.
So
A lot of people wanted for pickleball. I wanted to reline it, but it needed a lot of work. So we
I'm
spent
here.
a lot, I know, and I thank you, because we went to you, and I thank you for
Yeah.
listening, I thank the school board for listening. And I guess I'm coming from the other side, like, people come to me like, you know, sure, why don't you have the pickleball set up, why don't we have the tournament? You have your tennis courts there, I mean,
Yeah.
if not, we have to go somewhere else, or we have to cancel the program. And it's always kind of been there, same thing with the basketball court, and, you know, we want a lot of volunteers put in the bathroom and locker room facilities. Even the playground by the kindergarten area, that was all done by volunteers and by part of the rec. A lot of people stepped up and did that, so really,
It's part of the school system that keeps the community together. It's a community function through the school system. Maybe it sounds like it. Some townspeople should start going to your school board meeting.
I would like that. I think there should be more involvement with townspeople.
do the other schools, say Proctor and those, do they have soccer fields or parts of their school that is community used? Like, do kids show up and use their soccer
I
field?
know that they have tennis courts at Proctor.
They don't maintain them?
I think they have maintained them. I would have to, I started digging into that and, you know, how things go sometimes.
Well, I'm just wondering, when people say they're not used and they're not done, I don't know who all those are. You have to have them ready to be used. When people showed up to do it before I got there was grass, they weren't, you couldn't use them. And I'm a tennis player too, and we had a whole group last year that got together to play. So in a sense, some of them couldn't use it because it wasn't usable.
Right.
We had to redo the nets, we had to dig up all the cracks, we had to, it was a lot of work. And I only did it to use it and for camp to be there. But it was hours, so when they say they don't use it, that was one reason some people didn't use it, because every 5 years we used to get together and say, what do we need to do for it? What do we need to resurface it? Look at it to keep it up to speed. It was like a 5-year setup,
So who actually owns that equipment? The tennis courts, the basketball
School.
courts?
The school back when we merged.
When you merged, it all became the school.
That was the school. I was under the impression that was a combination of town owning the land.
So some of the research that I did, that I gotta find, that this conversation, just so you know, Eric, and maybe you probably do, has been going on since probably when I started here in
No.
16, 17 of why aren't you guys maintaining the tennis courts? Because some of those facilities were built and built out with, I believe, USDA funds, with support from the town,
Right.
with money that the town provided to build out some of those facilities. Perhaps maybe not specifically the tennis courts, but one of the stipulations was the facilities were supposed to be used by the town and the community. So I think it's disingenuous, personally, I think it's disingenuous that your school board would say, no, we don't use it, so we're not gonna maintain it.
And they haven't said that yet. I'm trying to get ahead of
Okay,
the game here.
that's good.
A few people have said it to me. Some people have said to me that they don't feel that it's used and they think it should be plowed down and made a parking lot.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, so I
And I
mean,
don't want that to happen as a,
So it sounds like what Paul is saying, there's a USDA grant that specifies that
Well, I don't know if it's in particular to the tennis courts, because I wasn't around in the early 80s in the sequence of when things were built out. I just know that some of those facilities, whether it be the ball fields, the bathroom, locker rooms were specifically, we're doing this for the community,
Right.
not just the school.
right.
And in fact, before the Poultney merged with Proctor and West Rutland, the school maintained some of that. I mean, I personally had to go in and clean the bathrooms because that was assigned to the town of Poultney.
and the rec mode had the
And
field.
the rec mode have the
Yeah.
fields and
That's what Joe told me.
so, I mean, there's a long history of
No.
cooperation between the community and the school at those facilities. So, you know, as I said, you're saying that they're not saying tough to the community, but it violates the spirit of the history of that property and how some of those amenities were built out.
The name of the group that did it back then with Cheryl and I was the Poultney Community Group. League, I'm sorry. It was the Poultney Community League. But that's who built the bathrooms.
Well, through the rec
And the
too,
fields.
the community was part of it, because we included them, the Vipers, and
Right,
built the new fields, yeah.
right.
And frankly, it's counterproductive to the whole Poultney Pride to pull into the
Right.
Poultney Elementary School and you see the thing that's falling down.
Right.
I mean,
Nothing good.
where's the pride in that?
I think it's worth noting too that the facilities that are at the school that have historically been used by the greater Poultney community at large were part of the town trails study that we just did, the planning project that we just did last year with the Better Connections grant from the state. So there was an inventory and sort of an assessment of the facilities that the community has in terms of recreational facilities. And there's a whole series of recommendations that probably the school board is not aware of yet, that our consultant just said, you know, these are here, this is how it's been used, this is what you could do. So I think it would be of value for someone
It's a good
to
idea.
go back to the
Would you,
yes.
When is your next school board meeting, Eric?
feel like you're putting me on the spot here.
We have to think
Usually
about
the
calling it, you can
second
send it to us.
Thursday,
Second Thursday,
Yeah, I think-
September 10th,
probably, yeah. And I can
or
email
12th, September 12th. Thursday.
Yeah,
Sarah, do you want to
Can you
go
just
to that
confirm
one?
with Paul and he can let us
I'll
know?
confirm it with Paul, so you know, yeah.
I'll go with you.
Yeah, I'll go too.
Yeah. I'd be happy to go, and I'll pull out the pieces from the report.
It's just hard to have it both ways. You can't say it belongs to the school, it's yours, and then all of a sudden now it's like, no, you take care of it. It's like, I jumped through hoops, like I said, to fill out the paperwork to use it all summer, and I've been doing it. I didn't have to now to do it.
I
It
really,
goes
yeah.
to you, but then you want us to do that, but yet we have to take care of it. So it's like, we
I hear what
can't
you're
have it
saying.
both ways. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I want to do our part, I don't mind, but we have to work together on it.
Maybe there's some grants that we could,
To Sarah's point, the school board may not know,
Right.
so we can come and explain it.
that would be great.
It's
Looks like
probably,
September 14th, according to your,
it's on the September 14th,
The Thursday.
according,
It's a Saturday.
that's a Saturday.
GRSU. I don't know, I'm looking at their, oh, that's 2023.
That's GRS,
Sorry.
you, right?
That's the 23-24.
We've got lots of boards, so it gets really confusing.
So it just could basically be a lack of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think they're understanding, you know, how important it is to our community.
Okay,
And, you know, we're all in it, to the same boat, so, we all brought some, you know, some bonds that, we're paying off before, you know, we unified and merged.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are pretty large
what
numbers.
bonds are those?
There was one for Poultney, 2006 upgrades to the sewer system.
Yeah, I was the chairman of the
Yep.
school board then, that was a bond.
So Corey Valley's paying 60% of the loan, and the bond will end 2035. So we have that. I don't know how much, didn't give me the exact numbers.
But I still think doesn't Poultney pay off a bond from others, two other schools?
Yeah, we do.
Too?
Yeah. Both the other schools had bonds as well.
That Poultney pays.
Correct. It all goes to one budget. So we're all paying, it's
into
in
that
one budget. It's not
budget, just under.
done by
20.
percentage. It's just all one.
Who do they have take care of their tennis courts? I could say at Proctor's. Is it the school, the community who does
The
that?
best I got out of it was that we took care of it like a while back, and I can't give you specifics because I don't have
I
it.
mean, I will.
That's why when we need to go to a meeting and talk to the school board.
Yeah, I would appreciate, and you know, they're really pushing for local leaders to come to school board meetings because obviously we've got some issues coming. you know, so it'd be nice to see that more community activity there.
All right, we'll make sure that the date is September 12th.
Yeah.
And we'll head over. You're in West Rutland
I
anyway.
am in West Rutland.
It's at,
Printing price
Right,
chopper.
Price Chopper,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Sweet Caroline's, yeah.
You mean
Right by Sweet Caroline's, they're right in that little plaza.
Sweet Caroline's and Price Chopper.
And we appreciate it, because a lot of people come to us and think that we're in charge of the school board, with the
Yeah.
school board budgets, and I always saying to the select board, and we're like, that's really not.
And I mean, if people come to ask questions, I don't mind
Send them your way.
you sending them my way. I'm more than happy to deal with that
Okay,
and try to answer their questions.
And I know you do put out the school board, times and stuff. I don't know if everybody notes them, but that is something
Yeah.
that they do, so people are.
you'll see,
And I do
three
try
of
to
us
get-
at your next meeting.
If you go to the post office, our minutes are always posted there.
Okay.
I'm a little late this week because I've been kind of crazy, but I'm gonna go over tomorrow and I'll have them up. But, you know, we definitely have some challenges.
But we appreciate you coming to Poultney and letting us know, because like I said, we went to the board and we, you know.
I mean, I didn't realize we still had these bonds out. I was surprised to see how far out we have to pay them.
That's all because the school systems has merged.
I don't think anybody was planning on merging, you know, before part 46. So I think everybody kind of planned out what they needed to do for infrastructure, and the next thing we know, we're trying to look for partners.
I think the state's suggesting that also.
Yeah.
Wow.
Funding, yeah.
Yeah, went from just about a $5 million budget, to just under 20 million.
Yeah.
I'll call you then, because I would love to go to Parches and see their courts and just see like the upkeep and what they do. And just see
Absolutely.
if it's
I'll go over
understanding
it.
that
I'll go over
before.
it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
Okay, Eric,
thank you so much.
Thank
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, Tim,
Oh,
Patty will be right with you.
well,
Oh, Patty, you both raise your hand at the same
oh,
time.
sorry. Hi, everyone, Kim Raganay, Poultney Fire Department. I just want to say thanks for coming out and taking care of my fire 2 years ago. Huge shout out to you. So I'm here to bring up the drainage issue that has been lingering for 3 years or more. I think it was 3 years ago that an engineer from Burlington came down and met with myself and Paul. And so, initially it was supposed to be taken care of before the bridge and then after the bridge. And then I heard that Miller wasn't going to do it. And then I heard that, and Paul and I have had very nice and respectful conversations, but it's just gone on way too long. I'm getting the same responses like, oh, I have to get a contractor, oh, I have to schedule something, and I've been asking since forever, can you get this on the books, can you schedule it? And I don't really understand why it's taking so long. I actually even said to Paul and the engineer, I don't want the town to pay a lot of money. I will settle for the cheapest way of getting this done. Just please get it done. So nothing has been done. There's nothing on the books for it to get done. And so I'm here tonight just to put it back on the table, because I think I've been kind of forgotten about.
Last board meeting, I brought that up.
I mean, we've talked about it.
You haven't been
in this-
forgotten
in
about
this
the last
room
board meeting, I brought it
over
up.
many board meetings, not just the last board meeting. You look at the meeting minutes, and to say nothing's been done, I frankly disagree with that. And as I've told you as many times as I don't know how many, when the contractor can put it in the schedule, he will.
What contractor though, Paul? Like, I haven't gotten any answers, and I didn't mean to say or insinuate that nothing's been done. No, I mean, you know, we had that nice engineer from Burlington come down, and we had someone from Meadowy come over, and we all said that, yes, this is a problem, and I think it affects other neighbors as well, but, you
And,
know,
and the highway department did a temporary,
temporary
solution.
fix, yeah.
So nothing's been done. It's almost like I could stop listening now. Frankly.
Paul, I'm being respectful, and I didn't say nothing has been done. But
To put it back on the table, it's never been off the table. So
Where does it stand with the contractor that's?
I'm trying to get him to put it on the schedule. The issue is it's a labor intensive job. It's all handwork. Yes, Miller through a gentleman's agreement agreed to do it and then backed out of doing it. I don't know what to tell you about that. Lining up another contractor, it's been difficult. I have one contractor that I'm waiting for them to give me the estimate and waiting for it to be put on the schedule. We would do it. I would have my highway guys do it, but we don't have the equipment to do it.
Did the town cause this problem? I'm just curious. What is the actual issue? I've been hearing about this.
I think the way in which the road has been paved, and how the water comes down off of like River Street and then down into my property and then other people's property. But you know what? 3 years ago, there was so much water in my front yard. It was winter time and it was like an ice rink, and I fell and I broke my wrist, and I was like out of commission for, I don't know, 6-8 months. My right wrist, not my left, my dominant hand. And so, anyway, I'm just.
So what do they want to do? Make more ditches?
So
Geez,
we engage an engineer to come up with a solution. We had a couple solutions that we explored that were not feasible. We had one solution to move the water across the road to another piece of property that Kim owns that I think after meeting with Kim, and you, in fairness to you, you did say, just do the cheapest thing
I did.
to make this work. We designed a system, we shared it with Miller Engineering. I tried to get Miller to commit because they said, we can't do it while we're doing the bridge. We have to do the bridge project first.
Right.
Contractually, we have to do the bridge project first. When we come back in the spring, we will do that project and the Jane Williams project. So, before spring started, I said, okay, remember, and then we don't have time.
No.
So unfortunately, I was left in early spring, this spring that just passed, trying to find a contractor. So I'm putting a lot of time and effort into this.
You had a plan.
And I'm trying to make it work.
May I ask who's the contractor?
Well, we don't have an agreement. We don't have a written agreement with him, so I'd rather have the written agreement before I publicly say who the contractor is. I'm trying my hardest.
Too bad the Miller backed out.
Yeah, unfortunate, but they got waylaid in all the things that they had to redo, that their mistakes, they had to repeat a lot of things, sadly.
Can you get a hold of the contractor and see if the estimate is on its way?
I left them a message. As some of you may know, I was off last Friday. I left them the message Thursday saying, I need the commitment. I need to be on your schedule.
Okay, so it is.
I have been trying my hardest. I've told you that, and I know some people are filling your head with, oh, they're just gonna screw you over. But you and I have had a very good
Well,
relationship.
we have, Paul, and I'm not
And
disputing that.
I know that, but I know people are whispering in your ear saying the town's just gonna screw you over. I have no intention, and Joel can attest, when we make a commitment to people, we see it through.
And
It
I
might
have
not,
said,
it might
and
not
I
happen.
have said, I believe that Paul will make good. So I have defended you, the town. I just want it on the books. Like,
Believe me,
It is.
if
It
I
sounds
could
like
do it
it is.
myself, I would do it myself.
It sounds like it
Because
is on the books.
I
When he
do
gets the
several
commitment
things
from the
myself,
contractor,
Because
then-
I can't get someone else to do it and I end up doing it. And people say, oh, you shouldn't have to do that. Well, it's easier if I can simply do it than to have someone,
We get back to it.
Yeah, so it sounds like he's getting it on the books, Kim. Sounds like
trying my hardest.
once he gets the estimate from this contractor, he obviously put a message to him Thursday. He hasn't got back to him yet. He'll ring him again and we'll try it again, see if he gets back to us. Get the estimate and go from there. It hasn't been forgotten.
It's hard to find people who want it.
It is. I waited since April to get my foundation poured in my house and still I'm waiting. I know, but
Okay, so.
that's where we are. Is that, I know it doesn't make you happy,
Thank you for your patience, I know.
but that's where we are.
All right, good.
Hopefully we'll have something back from him soon.
I hope. I've been waiting.
Okay,
Patience is a virtue.
Yeah, I understand that, Mark. I've been very patient.
but
But you know what? When I schedule something with a client, make an appointment, I write it in the book and I let them know, this is when you're scheduled.
Yeah, we haven't got that yet from the contract. It sounds like he is after,
Thank you.
okay? Okay. Patty,
Real quick, in the
that's fine.
view of all the money that's been thrown around here tonight, in the spring, I asked about 5 different organizations that were getting $2,500 a piece. I know it's small change, but $12,500 is just given away with no accountability. And I asked at that meeting if I could please see financials. Some of these 5 haven't done financials in years. So there's.
One of them's a Little League.
One is Little League.
We're coming up into our budget season. We've gotten the
Community league's not really, yeah, the community league.
community league, community league.
Now, I'm not saying that they run great programs, but here we are putting money out there and there's no accountability.
We've got, we have had a rescue squad, you know, it's their itemized lines. And they did a very good job on that. The library always gives us an itemized line.
Band too, she's talking about all the ones that we give.
Yeah, so the community league, which other one would you like?
I just would like to see all of them.
All of
And
them
a
from the
copy of those
12,500.
I mean, I don't mind supporting them, but there's no accountability. And as a taxpayer, with taxes just going up, I'm sure that money could be used somewhere else.
Yep, well, we're coming up into we've been hitting each one as we go. So we'll get those 5 in when we start our budget process. We'll ask these people to bring in your line items so we can see them and everybody can see them. Okay? We start that in October, Patty.
I'm all over
I'm not
that.
sure all of these have lines.
Well, they may not, but if they don't have a line item, then we'll know what the money is, where it's going.
How much comes in, how much goes out.
Expenditures and revenues.
Yep. Thank you.
We'll get that on this October. Boy, we're getting close to having that on everything in town now. It's been a while. It's hard to get something. Okay, is that it, Patty?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Public comments and concerns?
Hi, a couple questions. I saw that the select board passed a constable pay rate of $45 an hour for all constable hours for the duration of the current fiscal year. What was the hourly rate prior to this?
It was $20 and some odd cents.
That's a special arrangement.
But the,
Yeah, paid the-
when most of the work that the constable does is paid through, two grants, the, DUI safety grant and the, it's the click it or ticket one. I can't remember what the name of it is. And those rates are higher, than what traditionally the constable was being paid. And we were advised this year by the Rutland County Sheriff's Department, who actually oversees the grant, that we can't have two different rates for the constable. We have to have the same rate as those safety grant rates are. So that's why we had to discuss that with the constable. And that's why the rate, as stated, if you looked in previous minutes, when the last time we discussed it, Mr. Teeter made a motion to increase the rate while he was working the grants. And again, the sheriff's department came back to us and clarified, I guess, which was my misunderstanding, that we can't have two different rates.
But the grant reimburses us for every dollar we do pay. Correct?
Through, yeah, if it's grant work, we do get, the town does get reimbursed.
Right.
And that's what that is. It's almost like a match.
So is it, I guess it sounds like it's based on who he pulls over and what he's pulling them over for, whether it gets paid by grant money or paid by the town?
As I understand it, yes. I mean, for instance, like when the constable comes down and ushers in the parade, like it does on 4th of July, I don't think that's a chargeable as against the grant. So, events that are not grant related, as I stated from the Rutland County Sheriff's Department, we can't have two different rate structures.
I guess it would be good to keep an eye out to see how much of an impact it is on the budget.
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, good.
And we don't believe it's going to be substantial at all,
That'd be good.
but we'll keep an eye on it. Does that answer your question?
That answers question number one.
Number two, behind door number two?
What's the status of the dog control ordinance?
Oh, really?
I think we talked about it, I think we're gonna talk about it at our last meeting, but Cheryl wasn't here.
Wasn't here.
I think some
My
of
son
the,
got married, so I have a good excuse.
I think some of the rest of the board, my recollection is the rest of the board was like, let's just wait till we're all here.
Yeah.
Um,
And we did not get it on this one. So,
and again, I think it's probably on me again because I was supposed to recirculate. I don't think I ever did.
There's a lot of paper we've been looking at. We've been really going through a lot of different ones, finding out which ones would apply for Poultney and that what we need to do, because once we adopt one and accept it, then we have to follow it.
Yes.
So doesn't sound like, oh, that should be easy. Well, it's not as easy as it sounds. We kind of have to think about it.
can we get that on the agenda for the 23rd to discuss this?
We can.
Yeah.
And bring in everything that Alan, did you have stuff for that too? Bring all that stuff in with you on the 23rd for the board meeting. Does that answer your question?
Sounds good. And do you have any update on the regenerative land holdings contracts?
No.
Are you just waiting for him? I know last time you were waiting for him to respond.
Some of it was the same conversation. Well, let's have the whole board here to continue those discussions.
Kind of hinges on what the BCA does.
And they have a hearing coming up, Regenerative has a hearing coming up. I think it's this week.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, and it's sort of, that's kind of tied into it a little bit.
Does that answer it?
Yeah. And final question, what's the status of the hiring of a zoning administrator?
We've tentatively, the board's had a discussion. We've discussed a perspective in executive session, and I need to catch up with that person to discuss a couple things further. So we're very close on hopefully having that position established.
Not needed.
That'd be good.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
any other comments or concerns? Nobody's on that, all right. We do I hear a motion to sign the board orders?
Make a motion to sign.
You second it? Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We do need executive session for a contractual matter, you said tonight?
Yes.
So at this time, we'll go into executive session for a contractual matter.
One VSA section 313A1, make motions for fines and fees returned and with public knowledge. There is places where a person involved substantial advantage of certain matters. And the contract discussed outside the executive session. Pursuant to one VSA section 313A1A, make a motion to enter into executive discussion to discuss contract matters.
Do I hear a second?
Thank you, Alan.
Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? We're entering into executive session at 7:27.